What's up, everybody? It's good to see you here. I think we have a nice volume on the voice here, on the mic. I think that's good enough. What's everybody? It's good to see you again. Here, I'm turn this down a little bit. There you go. That's all right. So we got some important things to talk about, and this is something that I just can't get off of my mind. Yeah. So we have what is the actual card? I think the card is UFC 259. UFC 259 is a very stacked card. It's going to be a very wild card with a lot of good fights. There are going to be explosions all over this fight card, UFC 259. And if anybody looks at this card, anybody that knows anything about MMA, they would be very excited to see this card. And there will be a lot of people watching this card for sure, whether legally or illegally. We're not talking about that right now. So let's get right into it, I guess. So here we have UFC Fight Nights coming up. We have Blades versus Lewis. Very fucking interesting fight, or main event fight, and pretty good card as well. Very interesting card. Same thing for the Rosenstrike versus Gone. That's one of the biggest fight nights that I'm actually looking forward to because of Cyril Gone. I think that Cyril Gone, he's going to be knocking on the championship door here in a little bit, but he will have to go through Jairzinho Rosenstrike first, obviously. And so we're going to see how he's going to uh, deal with that after coming off that big KO win over Junior Dos Santos. Of course, we have 259, which we will talk about. Then we have the UFC 187. Not sure who Edwards is going to fight here, but it is going to be announced apparently. Hopefully, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is ready to fight. He shouldn't be too banged up after that last fight with Jeff Neal. Should be all right. We have Brunson versus Holland. I can't wait for that fight. That's like I'd say like the second. Well, it's a tie between Brunson and Holland, Brunson versus Holland rather, and Rosenstrike versus Gone. Those two cards I'm looking forward to. Then we have Stipe versus Ngannou 2. We have Till versus Vittori. We have Whitaker versus Costa. Damn. So we have some good fights to look forward to. But out of all of these cards, the most obvious one is Blachowicz versus Adesanya. Not just for the Blachowicz versus Adesanya fight, but for the Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson fight, and the Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling fight, which I got to go into here in a little bit. That's going to be a great one. And then Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kinney, Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic, Jose Benavidez, or why did I say Jose Benavidez? Joseph Benavidez versus Oscar Oskarov, Islam Makachev, Drew Dober, Jordan Espinoza, Tim Elliott, Kai Kara France, Rogerio Buntorin. A lot of things going on. Randy Costa, fucking Trevin Jones here. Jake Matthews versus Sean Brady. Ooh, it's gonna be interesting, dude. But we got to talk about the main event. Like, there's just something about this main event between Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz that absolutely rubs me the wrong way. I don't like it. I understand. I understand that Israel Adesanya has beat quite a few people in his weight division, but also people that are also very high in the rankings. Let's look at here in the UFC rankings there. All right, and so we go to the middleweight division. He's beat Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker's number one. He just beat Paulo Costa in his last fight. Did he fight Jared Cannon? I don't think he fought Jared Cannonier. He beat Marvin Vittori. He beat Derek Brunson. He beat Calvin Gastelum. He beat Chris. No, he didn't fight Chris Weidman. He beat Brad Tavares. So Israel Adesanya has already beaten a lot of people or a lot of middleweights in his division. So, I mean, the only people that he hasn't fought in the top 10 are Jared Cannonier, Darren Till, Jack Hermanson, um, Uriah Hall, Kevin Holland. So I could understand how Israel Adesanya needs something more to do, or he needs some new challenges. But I think it's crazy to make a champ versus champ fight out of Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya. Now, maybe Israel Adesanya, has beaten a lot of people. Maybe, the division is kind of stagnant right now. Of course, we need some time to kind of fucking gauge out. Who's going to be the next obvious top contender, that will give Israel Adesanya a run for his money. And it's not that obvious right now. Personally, I have my eyes on Kevin Holland. Um, but when you look at the light heavyweight division, Jan Blachowicz just became champion by beating Dominic Reyes. And the light heavyweight division has been under the thumb of Jon Jones for so long. Uh, you know, um, uh, the only other time it wasn't was during the reign of DC, which only lasted, when Jon Jones wasn't around. Um, so Jon Jones moves up to heavyweight. The light heavyweight division is finally free of Jon Jones's grasp. And Jan Blachowicz beats Dominic. But, now we have an open light heavyweight division, which is something that we haven't had since, the days of Lyoto Machida and Shogun Hua being champion. We now have that again, and we have a fantastic potential matchup between Glover Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz, which I think would be a better fight than Jan Blachowicz and Israel Adesanya, or Israel Adesanya versus anybody in the light heavyweight division. Glover Teixeira versus Jan Blachowicz. Like, these two guys are true 205ers. They're true light heavyweights, and they are, fucking exclusive to light heavyweight. They're like legit light heavyweights. They're not heavyweights. They're not middleweights. They're light heavyweights, like, for sure. And it would be a very good fight between two light heavyweights, Jan Blachowicz and Glover Teixeira. Now, in this fight between Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz, I personally believe that Israel Adesanya is going to win, whether that be by KO or whether that be by decision. I think he is going to win. He has the larger gas tank, in my opinion. He is obviously the faster man. He is the better striker, and every fight starts on the feet. I think if Jan Blachowicz is able to take Israel Adesanya down, that would definitely be a game changer. But if he's not able to touch Israel Adesanya, he won't be able to take him down or do anything. The problem with trying to take down Israel Adesanya is that you have to worry about so many things coming back at you. You try to take him down, or you shoot in for a takedown and you telegraph even a little bit, you telegraph. He's going to hit you with a knee, an elbow, anything. He could hit you with anything. And you don't want to end up like Cyborg Santos getting kneed by MVP in the forehead, getting his fucking forehead dented in. You don't want to be like that. And Israel Adesanya is one of those guys that can pull that off. And that's something that you definitely have to think about, because the speed advantage is a deadly thing. I understand that Jan Blachowicz has the Polish power that started to come to fruition as of late. He had like a long time where there's just like a decision after decision after decision. And he's gotten into like this element where he's knocking people out. Luke Rockhold, Corey Anderson, Dominic Reyes here. And I don't want this Polish power to get to his head, because if he doesn't have a mode of transporting that Polish power to the target, which is Israel Adesanya, then the Polish power effectively means nothing. That's the problem here with the Polish power. And if he doesn't have the speed to initiate a takedown that Israel Adesanya can't see coming, if he can't do that, well then the ground game is probably a no-go. And so if he has to stand and fight with Israel Adesanya, the only who's the only guy to knock has Israel? I don't think Israel Adesanya has been knocked out other than like the Alex Pereira fight. I think that was like the only time he's been knocked out. Let's see here. Israel Adesanya kickboxing record. There you go. Let's see his kickboxing record here. Mixed martial arts, kickboxing record. All right, so of course he got killed. Yeah. So Alex Pereira, I have to say it like a Brazilian dude. It sounds based. So Alex Pereira is the only person during an actual fucking fighting competition that has ever knocked out Israel Adesanya. Now, that means something that we're talking about Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is the Glory middleweight champion. And not only is he the Glory middleweight champion, but he just became the Glory light heavyweight champion after he defeated Artem Vakitov in a very, very close decision, actually. But close decision, non-close decision. He's still the Glory champ, light heavyweight and middleweight, and he hasn't been beaten since 2017. So he's on a fucking roll, dude. He really is, and he's a really bad guy to be in there with. And he showed that when he not only beat he beat Israel Adesanya once in 2016, but then he knocked him out in 2017. That means something. So Alex Pereira is the only guy that has ever been able to pull off that fucking feat. And it's because he's Alex Pereira. It's not because he got lucky. It's not because of this. It's because he's Alex Pereira, and that's just what he does. He just fucking starts just like, look at this guy's record. Look at the record and look at like the ways in which he wins. Of course, Artem Vakitov really stood his ground, and it was a really close decision. But you see here, KO left hook, KO left hook, KO left flying knee, KO right hook, TKO doctor stoppage, KO left hook, TKO right hook, KO left hook. And these are in fucking round one, round three, round one, round two, and these kickboxing rounds, I think kickboxing rounds are only like 3 minutes, dude. So I mean, I understand it's all stand up, but at the same time, there are a lot of kickboxing fights that go to decision. And to KO somebody in a kickboxing fight, all stand up, that shit is it's a very specific thing, That means you are like one of the best when it comes to stand up fighting, bro, honestly. And this guy, Alex Pereira, is the only guy to ever do that to Israel Adesanya. And then, of course, we look at Israel Adesanya's mixed martial arts record, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And not only is it absolutely perfect, but it's littered with the KOs and TKOs. It's littered with a bunch of guys that have tried and failed. Even the decisions were rough for the guys that fought Israel Adesanya. They were very rough. The only guy that got to a fight with Israel Adesanya virtually unscathed is Yoel Romero, and his legs, I think his left, I think his left leg was still fucked. His left leg was fucked up after that fight, dude. After being pounded by those leg kicks from Israel. So I mean, I don't see Jan Blachowicz being able to connect with any type of power against Israel Adesanya. Unless he's like fighting I don't understand, bro. He's going to have to be like ultra aggressive, but I think that speed is what would kill him if he tries to be ultra aggressive. I think he doesn't have the speed, and I think he would maybe get tired after a while. because Israel Adesanya would be peppering him with all types of shots that he normally wouldn't be able to pull off simply because he's fighting against middleweights. But against light heavyweight and Jan Blachowicz, like Israel Adesanya is really going to make Jan Blachowicz look bad. And so like that gets to my real point here is that I don't like this fight because if Israel Adesanya wins, he is going to stagnate both the middleweight and the light heavyweight division. Now we're already going through problems with the lightweight division with Khabib Nurmagomedov because he doesn't know whether he wants to fight or whatever. Yeah, that's whatever, bro. That's cool. I understand Khabib. His dad just died, and there's a lot of things like I can only imagine. What a person goes through when their parent dies. But we all figure that out. Like everybody has to deal with that eventually, or a lot of people do. Um, so I do definitely sympathize with Khabib Nurmagomedov and what he's going through. But if the man says that he doesn't want to fight anymore, or that was his last fight, the fight against who is it, Justin Gaethje? If the man says that that is his last fight, let that be his last fight. Take the belt from him. Say thank you, Mr. Nurmagomedov. If you ever want to come back, there's always a home for you here. One reason why I absolutely love fucking George St. Pierre is because when he felt that, maybe there wasn't enough testing, or maybe, he didn't like the way the UFC like, I don't know, I guess he just didn't like the way the UFC implemented certain things when it came to drug testing. So he decided to step away from the sport. And not only did he decide to step away from the sport, he vacated the title. So he allowed the actual division to flourish. He didn't want the division to suffocate and die. He didn't want that. And if Israel Adesanya does that, and that's obviously what it isn't happening with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Apparently, fucking Dana White just wants so much. He just wants so much of that fucking. He wants some more of that Khabib money. He hasn't gotten over this fucking Khabib money, and instead of taking the title from Khabib and vacating the title and allowing somebody else to be the champion and allowing a potential star to be born, he's going to try his best to keep Khabib. Hey Khabib, you want to fight? What do you want? The money? Do the numbers not sound good enough to you, Khabib? What can we do to get you back on the octagon, Khabib? No, bro, the man doesn't want to fight, Dana. You greedy guy, you. Take the belt from him, vacate the belt, let somebody else fight for the belt. Let somebody else be a star. There are, like, when you do this to a division, when you allow a person, a champion, whether they're injured or not, if a champion is like too injured that like he's set out for like a long time or whatever, like at a certain point, it's like, okay, well, you have a business to run. You have a bunch of other guys that fight in this division that are trying to become champion. If the champion isn't there, if the champion isn't capable of doing what is necessary of a champion, then it's time to move on. Now, if Israel Adesanya wins this fight with Jan Blachowicz, it's going to stagnate to both of these divisions. It's going to stagnate the middleweight division. It's going because Israel's not going to be able to fight in middleweight all the time. And it's going to stagnate the light heavyweight division because he's not going to be able to fight in light heavyweight all the time. Now, I guess if Israel Adesanya is kind of like a fucking anime character. So since Israel Adesanya is like an anime character, maybe he would try to do some shit where he like stays at like a solid 190 or something. Maybe that's like his walking around weight. Maybe it's like in the 200. So maybe he just like fights at light heavyweight 200 and he just takes on all comers. That would be obviously fucking awesome if he did that. But due to like certain restrictions in how many times a fighter is allowed to fight, after a fight, depending on how the fight goes, obviously he's not going to just be able to fucking fight back to back. and fighting the middleweight contenders and then fighting the light heavyweight contenders at the same time, that's not going to be a very easy thing to do, because both divisions have some fucking absolute monsters that want to rip the head off of anybody with a belt. So, realistically, Israel Adesanya won't be able to be as active as a double champ as some people may think that he may be. Some people think that he's just going to fucking fight every single weekend, against like all of the next, top contenders or whatever. Maybe he is he's capable of doing that. But I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I understand it seems like Israel Adesanya doesn't have anybody to fight in the middleweight division. But when you look at Jan Blachowicz, the man just became champion. The man just became champion after years of domination from fucking dude. Jon Jones literally, people like to bring up Anderson Silva, but Jon Jones's reign was a motherfucker of a reign, dude. It's very ridiculous, dude. How long that guy held the belt, held the belt so long he just fucking gave it up. People talk about Dominic Cruz won this, Dominic Cruz won that, but I mean, at the end of the day, he lost, dude. And Jon Jones vacated the title. So I honestly think, personally, that if a champ versus champ, I don't understand why they can't just fight. First off, why can't they just fight and there be no title involved? Why does there have to be a title involved? Like if they want to fight, let them fight. Sure, let them fight. But don't put a title on it and ruin the potential for a true light heavyweight star to be born, because Israel Adesanya beat Jan Blachowicz and he became champion. And now we have to fucking wait for him to heal up so he can fight middleweight. Then he has to go back up to light heavyweight. Then they have to fucking make contracts with the light heavyweights to fight him. And it's just a fucking whole shitty thing here when you do that. So I'm honestly against this whole champ versus champ shit. It only works in certain cases, and none of these cases it's not the case here. It's not the case here. Here is a case of Dana White, that greedy, oh Dana, you fucking greed hog. You're a legitimate greed hog, Dana. Let's look up Dana White's net worth, by the way, dude. White net worth. Look at how much money this son of a bitch has. Bro, you have a net worth of over $500 million. Do you need more money, Dana? Is that something that you need? Do you really need it? So much so that you're going to fucking potentially bury two divisions because of your greed? Because I just want the champ versus champ. I'm Dana White, and I can't do a really good Dana White impersonation, so I'm just gonna talk like a fucking retard. I just want champ versus champ. I just want Jan Blachowicz versus fucking Israel Adesanya. So what? Fuck it. It's a good show, man. It's money. It's just like, it's so fucking stupid, bro. Jan Blachowicz, the man just became champion. What in his last 5 fights warrants a champ versus champ fight? I get Jan Blachowicz is like a real ass Polish dude or whatever, and he's down to fight whenever and however. I get the fucking the Polish manly machismo shit, dude. I understand it, bro. I believe it or not, I'm a fucking man. I get it. But this is fucking ridiculous, dude. If Israel Adesanya beats you, Jan, if he fucking beats you, not only is he gonna get your belt, because I believe he's going up to 205, because Jan's not going down. Jan's not. And what happens if Jan wins? Does Jan just keep his belt and Israel Adesanya goes back down with his title? Or if Jan wins, does he become the middleweight champion? Like, I'm not really sure on how this champ versus champ shit works. Is it like, are both belts on the line, like in the fucking professional wrestling, for everybody? So if Jan wins, he's the middleweight champ. because he's not going to middleweight. I don't know what he's gonna do with that belt. So maybe Israel Adesanya is challenging Jan for his belt. Either way, dude, I hope something happens, dude. I hope a Khabib versus Tony Ferguson like curse comes over this fucking fight, so that way Israel and Jan never fight and they just stay in their goddamn own lanes. You know what I mean? It's come on, dude. If you Israel, if you want to fight Jon Jones, just like fight him. Like Dana, why don't you just let fights happen? If guys want to fight each other and they both agree, no matter what division they're in, just let them fight. Don't have them put belts on the lines if they're both. Just let them catch weight. Just let them fight. What happened to catch weight fights? Do we not do that anymore? Like, do the unified rules just like ruin catch weight fights? They've been having a lot of catch weight fights lately. Just do a little catch weight fight between these guys, Israel Adesanya and Jon Jones, if they want to fight so much. Don't put these two divisions as at stake simply because you want more money, Dana. You fucking pig. Where you at? Where are you, Dana? What I do with you? Okay, I don't know where. Okay, it's right here. This man has 500 million. Dana, you don't need any more money, Dana. You understand? Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at that insatiable face, dude. He just wants it all, man. He just wants all the money. That's apparently where we are now with the UFC. So I mean, I don't like this fight. I really hate it. I think that Israel Adesanya is going to win, but I hope that he doesn't win. So I guess he doesn't, fucking become light heavyweight champion. Because I don't think that Jan Blachowicz is going to become middleweight champion if he wins. I hope that's not how it works. Like belt for belt shit. That's awful. That's terrible. So I mean, yeah, dude, it's quite ridiculous. We got to move on from the champ versus champ shit. That's not cool. It just isn't. It just is terrible here. But it's going to happen. I still have Israel Adesanya pegged to win. I would rather see a champ versus champ fight with Israel versus Kamaru, but they're both Nigerian, so maybe that's not what they want to do. Yeah, man, that's it. I disagree. I disavow from this fight card or these two fighting. I don't like it. I don't stand for this nonsense. Okay, so hopefully something happens and the fight doesn't happen. That'd be pretty cool. But for now, it's gonna be a pretty crazy card. It's gonna be pretty dope card. I still can't wait for this card, but it's gonna definitely stagnate 2 divisions if Israel wins, and I think he's gonna win. So, all right, catch you guys later. It's been cool. Thanks for hanging out. See you in the next one. Yeah, in the next one. All right.